All right, we're here to talk about 2023 pay period number 7. This is the week ending February 11th. Let's talk about it. Coming up. Recently, I watched a video where a driver told everybody that the perfect speed to drive your truck was 55 to 57. If you're a company driver and you're driving any faster than that, you're hurting your company. Well, let me tell you, these companies are run by very, very smart people. You don't get to the C-suite or you don't get to be an owner of a 350 truck company or more, one of these top 500 carriers, by making stupid decisions. These are people who made a lot of smart moves and a lot of smart decisions in their life. Why are our trucks governed at 70 miles an hour? Our trucks are governed at 70 miles an hour because there's some days we need that 70 miles an hour. There's other days when we don't. I'm not a one-trick pony. I will drive my truck at 65 miles an hour most days, leaving me that 5 miles an hour if I've got to pass somebody. But as you're going to see on one of these particular days on this, I had a situation where if I had driven 55 miles an hour, I would have only gotten 320 something miles for that day, or just over 300 miles for that day. And the reason's because I would have gotten to Richmond, Virginia and found that place closed. They closed at 4 o'clock. As it was, I was driving speed limit or my governor, whichever was lower. I don't speed, so I will drive 65 if the speed limit is 65. I'll drive 55 if it's 55. But I drove this truck at everything it would do legally, and I still got there at 4:07. But because I got there at 4:07, I was able to get that one item off the trailer, and I was able to make it onto the next stop before they closed. Then I overnighted there and took off the next morning to get to the final stop before heading to the terminal. Here's the thing about that. There's a curve. We call it the Laffer curve. The Laffer curve says that you can cut expenses and raise productivity. They both work, but at some point you reach this spot where it's the optimum. So you can go 55 to 57 miles an hour and you're going to lose revenue. You're going to lose a run. You're going to not make some stops. You're going to lose productivity. On the other hand, if you're running 70 everywhere you go, you're going to lose so much MPG that you can't make it up in productivity. So every time I get ready to make a run, I look at it and see what makes sense for me. Sometimes it makes sense for me to be doing everything I can do. Other times I'll look at it and say, man, no matter what happens, I'm going to get there by 6 o'clock that evening. So I can drive 65 miles an hour and I will get there, a couple of minutes later. On the other hand, there are days when it does make a difference, especially come the end of the week when I'm trying to get home. We've all had that time when you've only got so much time left on your 70 and it's going to take everything you can do to get to the house. Let's take a look. We're going to look at a day in the life of an OTR LTL driver. Now keep in mind, I don't always drive LTL. A lot of times I have an OTR load that is just one stop and one delivery. That doesn't always happen. This particular case, I have a multi-stop load and it has to be planned well because of opening and closing times. If I don't plan it well, there's no big deal because these aren't appointments, but it will cost me productivity and I could be forced to overnight somewhere and continue upon this journey the next day. I want to get as much done as possible on the first day. If I set my cruise control at 55 miles an hour, just these first 2 stops will have a difference of 26 minutes. It's 3 hours and 26 minutes at 55, and it's 3 hours at 65 miles an hour. I use multiple tools when I plan my next day's operation. I also look in the Garmin and I set the speed at 55 and I also set it at 68 on this particular one. At 55 miles an hour, it was going to take me 10 hours and 21 minutes to go 527 miles or hit all of the stops. That was not going to work. It would have me arriving at Richmond after they were closed. At 68 miles an hour, I would be able to do it in 9 hours and 16 minutes, and I would hit Richmond right about 4 o'clock. This is going to be a busy day, so I went ahead and got to the shipper and was backed into the dock. I already had my blocks laid out ready to go and my nail gun in the back. I was not going to be messed around. I need a roll because today is going to be a very productive day.
counting down the minutes till it's Tuesday. Another day back on my feet. I'm fighting every minute till the weekend, so I can live it up and do it all again and again. Friday we go dive, Saturday we'll
You'll notice that I was in on-duty or drive mode the entire day, with the exception of the period of time at one particular outlet where I was in sleeper berth. I arrived there when they were at lunch, or the person who needed to do it was at lunch, and I went to the sleeper berth and made my lunch while I waited for them to get the forklift loaded. But Tom, you only got 520 miles driving like that. Yes, that's true, but I also am paid by the stop. And if I had been driving at 55 miles an hour, everything to the right of this line wouldn't have happened, because I would have been sitting at Richmond, which would have ended my day, and then I would not have been able to continue this journey until the next day. I need to get as much done on the trip as possible. All right, taking a look at the logs. I had only 4 days that I was on the road. I was at home on Sunday and Monday and on Saturday. So I was only on the road Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I had 2,100 dispatched miles, 2,110 logged miles, 2,109 odometer miles. All right, it's time to look at my unedited pay statement for the period 7 of 2023. This is the period that ended on February 11th. All right, because I was only out for 4 days, there's only one run on here. It leaves from my home in Shadydale, Georgia, and ends at my home in Shadydale, Georgia. It had stops in Valdosta, Georgia, Florence, South Carolina, Warminster, Pennsylvania, Fairfax, Virginia, Chantilly, Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, Christiansburg, Virginia, Concord, North Carolina, Iron Station, North Carolina, and we went back to Shadydale from there. The run paid $1,657 for 2,100 miles, or 78.9 cents per mile. All right, time for the summary page. $227 in empty miles, $148 in handling and securement, $1,721 in loaded miles, $194 in stop pay. That totals $1,657 for 2,101 miles, or 78.9 cents per mile. In February so far, we've had 11 days. I worked 7 of those days. I was home for 4 of those days. As we recap the week so far this year, Week 1 was 2146, Week 2, 2396, Week 3, 2292, Week 4, 1346, Week 5, 2501, Week 6, 1788, and Week 7, 1657. Year to date, we've had 7 weeks. The gross income is $14,130. Total miles, 17,754 miles. That gives an average gross of $2,018, an average miles of 2,536. The annual estimation, multiplying that by 52, comes to $104,965, 131,886 miles, or 79.6 cents per mile. It's time for my final thoughts. Tom gets to have his final thoughts in his video because they're his videos. Remember, you can skip any part of the video that you don't want to see because I put little bookmarks at the bottom. Those little bookmarks are so maybe you don't want to see the road footage. Maybe you don't want to see my intro. Maybe you don't want to see me talking in the final thoughts. You can skip any part you want to skip to. You can go to the logs. You can go to the calendar. You can go to the year to date. Okay, now, what am I going to talk about this time? I'm going to talk about culture. A lot of companies talk about they treat you like family. I don't know about you, but I got some family I'd rather not be treated the way they are treated, okay? We all have that family. But when they say they treat you like family, ask them what they mean by that. Are they inviting you to the cookout? Some companies have a very good culture, and it's really hard to describe in words what that good culture is like. But you can tell a company that has good cultures because they got a lot of drivers that have been there for a long time and have no plans to go anywhere. Not just drivers, other company employees as well. When you're going through the lot of a company, do you see a lot of 20-year veterans, 10-year veterans, 5-year veterans? This is a good sign because if the company didn't pay well, didn't have good equipment, didn't value your home time, you're not going to see that. Home time is very important. Recently, an individual told me they get 1 day a week home time at the company they're at. And that's it. That's expected, 1 day a week as a company driver. 4 days a month, really? Well, 4.3 because we know there's 4 extra weeks in a year. But still, that's all you're really going to get home every year is 52 days? Ran into another company. Driver was telling me they get a 34 at home every week. Yeah, that's a day and a half. But where I come from, there's 2 days in a weekend. I think you should be able to get 2 days at home. That's just me. Home time is valuable. You need to look at your situation. You need to weigh it out and figure out what's important for you. If you're 21 years old, 22 years old, and you don't have a wife and children, hey, live in that truck 365, make the money, put that money away in the bank so when you get ready to leave the industry and do something else, you got it. Again, everyone's situation is different. I can't tell you what the perfect situation is for you. You've got to figure it out. And make sure you're enjoying every day at work.